Hello, football fans. Welcome to this special edition of Keeping Score, Contender or Pretender. I am your host, Wannabe. At this point, we are over 2/3 of the way through the 2025 to 2026 NFL season, and some teams are sitting in the playoff picture that we did not expect. Joining me are our two seasoned analysts, Candyman and Big Daddy, and three bright minds, Bomo, and two new faces, Paisano and 2.0. Welcome to the show. For this show, I've chosen 6 teams, 3 from each conference, and my challenge for you 6 is to discuss and then decide if these teams are a contender or a pretender. First off, we look at the AFC in Indianapolis. The Colts are on a tear this season, with former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones and MVP candidate running back Jonathan Taylor, with a great offensive line behind guard Quentin Nelson. Sitting at 7-2, they made a league-shattering move at the deadline, acquiring cornerback Sauce Gardner from the Jets. They are 8-3. So, gentlemen, how do we feel about the Colts?
So, in my opinion, I felt like the Colts were really 50-50 with pretender and contender, but honestly, I'm going to have to go with contender. I mean, their secondary is so elite. Daniel Jones is questionable, but we have a questionable running back MVP on our hands. That is Jonathan Taylor. How do you guys feel?
Jonathan Taylor's having a career season. Could be a 2,000-yard rusher. But I think they are pretenders. I wrote down who they beat. They beat the Dolphins, Broncos. They beat the Titans, Falcons, Raiders, Cardinals. Lost to the Steelers, Rams, and Chiefs. I don't even think the Chiefs are that great this year. I thought at the end of that game in overtime, Daniel Jones did not want the ball in his hand, and they handed off to Jonathan Taylor, and they lost by a field goal. And I think their schedule gets a little tougher, and I love Sauce. I'm a Jet fan, but he's not going to make a difference in their defense to me.
Candyman, I'm going to have to disagree with you here.
Ooh.
So Daniel Jones got a new home, just like Matthew Stafford, won a Super Bowl. Jared Goff found a new home, made success. I hope that Daniel Jones is going to have success with Indianapolis and go all the way. So again, I'm going to say contender. I agree.
Honestly, I think they are pretenders. Overall, looking at it, if you asked me this question a week ago, I would have 100% said they're a contender. After this game with the Chiefs, I mean, they definitely proved that they need Jonathan Taylor to motivate that offense. And when he can't eclipse 100 rushing yards in the game, then they're just not getting the points they need to win this game against the Chiefs. Honestly, I just think they're pretenders. That was their game to prove that they are contenders this season, but since they lost, I'd change my answer to pretenders.
Great point, fellow Steph Diggs jersey.
All I'm going to say about Jonathan Taylor is that if you watch the Chiefs game a few days ago, you saw that the Chiefs did a great job of kind of containing Jonathan Taylor pretty much the whole game except for one big run, and I'm going to say that's one of the reasons why the Chiefs won that game. So if more defenses could just do that almost every week, I think they're going to do a pretty good job of getting on top of the Colts.
All right, so we got a lot of insight there from our analysts, but we need to take a final vote. Give me a thumbs up if you think the Colts are contenders, or a thumbs down if you think they're pretenders. The big variety there. I gotta say, I think we have more pretenders than contenders. All right, now moving on to our next team. High up in Denver are the Broncos.
Now, I'm going to start.
They barely scratched the playoffs last year and decided that this year they're coming in different. Capitalizing on star quarterback Bo Nix's rookie contract, the Broncos are loading up on defense, with names like Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga from the 49ers coming up the Colorado Mountain. Denver has become a top team in the AFC with their standout defensive line being one of the top teams in the pass rush. Being at 9-2, coming off a bye week, that begs the question, are the Broncos legit?
I'm sorry there, Landon, for getting a little ahead of you, but I just want to start off by saying I think the Broncos are the worst 9-2 team since the beginning of the NFL. If you watched that Raiders game a few weeks ago, 10-7 on primetime, if you want to make a run, you can't have that happening. And I will say Bo Nix is decent. He'll make the throws when you need him to. And the defense is still solid, but that Raiders game is just a big, big turnoff for me.
A win is a win. They have not beaten great teams, so I wrote the teams they beat down again. Titans beat the Bengals. Eagles, big win. Jets, anybody can beat them. Giants, sorry. Cowboys, Texans, Ravens, and Chiefs did lose to the Colts and Chargers. I think that what we're missing here is the Sean Payton factor. great head coach. When Russell Wilson was there, he's like, not my guy. Gets Bo Nix in. I think this is year 2 with Bo Nix. Rocky Mountain High, high, Colorado.
He's been possessed by M-Dog.
They are contenders in my eyes.
I have to agree with that statement. Hey, listen, the Broncos have a not such a great game against the Raiders. It happens, man. It happens. Bo
A win
Nix
is a win.
I know, yeah. Bo
Sorry.
Nix is developing. He's developing, and we need to let him cook.
Honestly, a common theme I've seen with these first two teams we've both talked about is this Chiefs game that they played against. Definitely was a deciding factor of whether they are contenders or pretenders. And the Broncos were able to beat the Chiefs. Recent memories, we haven't seen that a lot. We saw it once last season. I think this is still the regular season. They're still the division leaders, number 2 seed in the AFC. Depends who their playoff matchup is. Honestly, if it's the Bills, I think they can pull it out again. Trying not to be biased, but yeah, honestly, I can see it happening this year, them winning a playoff game or two, being contenders.
Offense is important, but defense is important too.
I have to agree with that. Like you said, Paisano, the Bills and the Broncos did play last year in the playoffs, and of course the Bills won. But to close up, I do need a final vote. So what are we thinking, guys? All right, so I'm seeing 2 contenders for the students, 1 pretender, and 2 contenders for our teacher side. That is pretty varying. I mean, of course, Bomo, you are the Chiefs fan. But our last AFC team is one that has shocked most. Firing Gerard Mayo, hiring Mike Vrabel, and spending over $284 million in free agency, signing names like Morgan Moses, Stephon Diggs, and Harold Landry, while they also drafted names like lineman Will Campbell and running back Travion Henderson. Drake May has started to reach that next level, and the New England Patriots are currently 10-2. They play the Giants this week on Monday Night Football, so I hope we do well. But gentlemen, is New England approaching another dynasty era?
Listen, Drake May arguably is an MVP candidate. I think the big win for them was they beat Buffalo in Buffalo 23-20. We'll talk about Buffalo later, but that's a big win for them. I mean, the Bills have won the AFC East, I want to say the last 5 years in a row. You know, prior to that, it was the Patriots, probably 25 to 30 years in a row. That's a joke. 15 out of the 20 years with the Belichick-Brady era, but they're the real deal. They have not got wins against great teams, but they're impressing me. That's Travion Henderson guy, can really run the ball. He's fantasy gold. I didn't really talk about the defense, but I think Vrabel is doing a really good job up there. I think they are contenders.
You know what? Yeah, honestly, the Patriots, their schedule this year, definitely been easy.
Oh, yeah.
There are 2 games that were proven to them to try and make it look like they had a harder schedule were the Bucs and the Bills. They won both of those games. Looking at the Bucs collapse at the Rams just yesterday, and the Bills losing to the Texans this week too. Can we really say that those are really hard games? And how hard is this Patriots schedule going to get? And can they continue this run they're having into the playoffs of just sneaking out these good wins every week, just after and after? I think they are pretenders. I don't think it's going to happen. They might be the 1 seed. I just don't see it with the schedule that they play, them being able to get a win in the playoffs. Haven't been there in a while.
I got to agree with that. Drake May does look good, but this past game, he didn't look that great. They got the win over the Bengals because it's the Bengals. But with that schedule they have, once they get into the playoffs, I think if they play 1 game versus a good team, I think they could just lose right there and their season would be over.
Okay, so we just talked about the Patriots, big team, big expectations, but I need a vote. Are they contenders or are they pretenders? All right, so we got, I believe that's 2 contenders and 3 pretenders. I honestly did not expect that going into it. I mean, 10-2, best team in the AFC. I would have thought they got more contenders. But now we move on to the NFC, and we're going to look at a team who made a ton of moves after just barely missing the playoffs last season. They replaced their quarterback, traded their number 1 receiver to the Steelers, hired a new offensive coordinator, and immensely improved the defensive line while also flipping the narratives. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks are rolling at 8-3, with Jackson Smith and Jigba on pace for a top receiver season. He's already broken the franchise record for most receiving yards by a single Seahawk in a season. So, how far can the Seahawks go?
I think this team surprised a lot of people. Jackson Smith-Njigba, fantasy gold, already has like 1,300 receptions, like receiving yards. I think he's got like 7 TDs, and that was pretty big. You know, being a Jet fan, seeing Sam Darnold succeed with 2 other franchises just tells you how bad their front office and their ownership is. But I'm happy for him because he was a high draft pick. I think he was number 4 in his year. And I think just nobody saw this from the Seahawks. The Rams are ahead of them right in the NFC West right now. They're making a nice run. I just don't trust Sam Darnold in the playoffs, so I'm calling them a pretender.
I have to agree there. I mean, Sam Darnold, you know, I haven't really seen him play much, but he is really good. Same with JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's putting up MVP numbers as well as the running back for the Colts, Jonathan Taylor. But I'm just going to have to say that they're not going to pull it off in the playoffs. How much can Sam Darnold really do? We saw in the Rams game, that was, oof. They played a really good defense. That was a really good game. That was a really good game, but the Rams came up on top, and that really, for me, proved that the Seahawks were pretenders.
All right, 2.0. That is a great point. You know, as someone who has JSN in fantasy, I'm very happy that I drafted him in the 3rd round. But I do need to take a vote. Are the Seahawks contenders or pretenders? All right, so I think we're at 3 pretenders and 2 contenders. That is an outweighing vote. You know, it's good that we have an odd number because, you know, we can come to a great decision. But moving up north, Chicago's years of roster building is finally paying off. The hire of Ben Johnson from Detroit and the solidifying of the offensive line has proven to be a huge success for Caleb Williams. They took Joe Tooney from the Chiefs, so Big Daddy and Bum are definitely feeling it. But 3 of the Chicago Bears players are top 3 in interceptions across the entire NFL. The Bears are 8-3 coming off a huge game against the Steelers. 2.0, I know you're mad about that. But I do have to ask, gentlemen, is Chicago finally emerging as a threat?
No way. I don't see it at all. I mean, they had such an easy schedule at the start of the year to rack up all these wins. Still had a lot of close games, like the Bengals game that was just on the screen, that Steelers game that just happened. Now this is where the real challenge happens. They got to face the Packers twice. They got to face the Lions. I think they also have to face the Broncos, Seahawks, I'm not sure. But I think they can make the playoffs, obviously, with the 83 record, leading the NFC North right now. But I just don't see a way they win this first-round playoff game. Too much inexperience from the team all around. Have to go pretenders.
Yeah, I agree with that. They are young. Caleb Williams does look good. He could be the real deal eventually. He's definitely shown the flashes, and they have talent, but like you said, they're just so young. And a new coach, Ben Johnson, is good, but I don't think it's going to happen this year.
Well, they lost the Vikings, Lions, and Ravens. They're all formidable foes. I kind of agree with all of you. I've been following them that closely. I mean, it's a great story. Ben Johnson, great, you know, with the Detroit Lions as the OC, and you know, you hope they can build upon this. But you know, NFL means not for long. I mean, look what happened to the Commanders, like, you know, NFC Championship game. Everybody's hurt there, right? So you pray for health for them too. We'll talk about health, how that's affecting other teams as well. I just don't see it for them as well. I agree with you guys. Pretenders.
Okay. You know, a lot of discussion about the Bears there. Big
The Bears.
I know you're not happy because they
The
took
Bears.
your offensive coordinator.
It's all right.
But
It's all right.
I do need to take a final vote. Are the Chicago Bears contenders or are they pretenders? We got pretenders across the board. I did not see that coming.
They better not make a run.
I can get I can get why some of you know, like Big Daddy, I know why, because they took your OC 2.0.
Yeah.
You lost to them, so I would get that. But moving on to our last team in the NFC, we are going down south to Raymond James Stadium. Tampa Bay has been riddled with injuries to key offensive players like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving, and tackle Tristan Wirfs, missing much of the early season. Also, Baker Mayfield sustained an injury Sunday against the Rams. He may miss this week, yet Baker Mayfield and rookie Emeka Egbuka are not going down easy, of course, with their very good run defensive unit. On top of the NFC South at 6-5, which means that they will get the 4th seed if the season ended today, the Bucs are hoping to send their ships to the Super Bowl. But will their squad find that treasure?
I really do not think so. So Baker Mayfield, he's hurt. Team's hurt. Baker Mayfield is, not a lot of people notice that he is the strong suit within that team. He is that team, in my opinion. Same with Emeka Egbuka, and same with the defense. But Baker Mayfield is a one-of-one quarterback, and honestly, without him, it's going to be really hard. So I'm going to have to go with Pretenders.
It's funny how you describe them as going down south to the Buccaneers, because that exactly describes their season right now. All these injuries, these bad losses they're having. I mean, I'm not even sure if they're the best team in their division right now with how the Panthers have been playing, even though they did lose Monday night. I mean, that's going to be a close race for the division. The Bucs' schedule isn't getting any easier either. And we've seen this year after year where they make it to the playoffs and just lose in the either division or the wild card. So definitely Pretenders.
Listen, let me go on record. Love the Bake Show. Always love Baker Mayfield. He finds a way to be relevant. Too bad it didn't work out in Cleveland for him. Whoever's fault that was, that's a darn shame because he had great commercials for Progressive Insurance when he lived in the stadium. Loved that. All right? They're just too decimated hurt. I mean, Bucky Irving, Bake, Evans. And I love their coach. I mean, why am I blanking on his name? Former Jets coach, defensive mind. Why am I blanking on his name?
Todd Bowles.
Love Todd Bowles. I feel bad for him. The division is awful. But I just too hurt, and they can't do everything. Shake and Bake needs a little assistance.
I mean, we hope that these players can get healthy because we can have a very, very competitive NFC race. But I do need to take a final vote. Are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers contenders or pretenders? Pretenders across the board. Good for Chicago, honestly. They don't want to be the only team that we really lack confidence.
That's true.
But now that I've gone through my 6 teams, I want each of you to mention one team that we did not discuss that you feel the need to pass judgment on. Candyman, you got 1 minute.
I got
You're
1 minute? Well, I mean, I'm a Jet fan, but I married a girl from Buffalo, and I went to UB, and I love the Western New York area. The people there are awesome, and this is a tough call for me. I think if they're healthy, they can make a run. And it's spiritually wise, like this is the year where the expectations are kind of like, all right, is the window closing on Josh Allen and this team? They really don't have receivers. James Cook is in the game plan all the time. If you can stop him, you can stop the Bills. What I noticed in the last game they played, which they almost pulled out, they played the Texans. And the Texans have a tremendously awesome defense. Deion Dawkins got concussed. And if you looked at the plays in the offensive line, it's almost like he didn't know where he was. He had his bell rung. And Josh Allen got sacked 8 times. And Josh Allen almost got injured before the half and he got tackled from behind. Looked like he nailed his left leg. And currently his shoulder is suspect. I think the entire nation, when they showed Josh Allen almost get injured like that, took a deep breath. Because whether you're a Bills fan or not, you love watching Josh Allen. You love the 6-touchdown game 2 weeks ago. 3 passing, 3 rushing. When he just loves to get hit, and he takes the ball and he spikes it down. He's like, this is when I play better. I play better when I take contact and I get hit. Josh is so likable. I'm going to do one of these for the Bills and hope that the health gets better and they get into the playoffs here. They're on the line of pretenders, contenders. I'm going to call them contenders if healthy. Contenders, go Bills.
All right, Candyman, that was very, very heartfelt. I definitely felt that. But next, I like to turn to Bomo.
So I'm going to be talking about the Ravens here, and I think that they are contenders. I think that they're going to turn into the Ravens that they were last year, the year before, just with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. I mean, it's hard to say that they won't contend. Like they had a bad record when Lamar was hurt and they had all those injuries, but those players are coming back. Lamar is back. They look good again. I think as long as they get into the playoffs, I think that they're going to contend for that Super Bowl.
That is a good chance, but like you said, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson coming back. They signed DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason. Derrick Henry, he's had a bit of an off season compared to last season where it was him and Saquon battling for that top 2 running back spot. Zay Flowers, he's one of the top receivers in the league. Mark Andrews, he just passed all the Ravens for top in receiving yards.
Yeah, wide receivers and tight ends. Right?
Yeah. So moving on, Big Daddy, tell us what we are expecting to hear.
So here's the thing. You know I love my Lions. You know I love the team. But here's the thing. We've got Goff, we've got St. Brown, we've got Gibbs. All three great players, but Goff's got tunnel vision. He's only seeing St. Brown. He has all these other weapons and he's not using them. So, and by losing their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, I think that they're trying to be last year's team and not being as successful as they could be. They could be dominating their division, and they're not. So I'm going to actually say that the Lions this year are pretenders. They're trying to be last year's team, and I'm not sure they're going to actually make it to as far as they think they're going to. It's unfortunate to say, but it's just I was yelling at the screen this weekend. I mean, we had to wait. We had to win in overtime against Giants. What the heck?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'll take it. You know, we're 2-10. Definitely not where I want to be, but a good game for the Jameis Winston experience. But let's turn it over to one of the new guys, Paisano.
You know, I do like my cheddar, but I'm not a cheesehead. These Packers, I mean, these losses this year have been really bad for their reputation. At the start of the year, they were like one of the top 5 ranked teams in the NFL with their new moves, as in Micah Parsons. I mean, that Browns loss, start of the year, we saw what happens when, you know, Jordan Love flips that coin of whether he's going to be Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. And if you have to rely on that type of coin flip just for your quarterback to play good or throw interceptions like that, that's not a good deciding factor in the playoffs. We've seen it before. I don't think that they're going to make the Super Bowl.
Bit of a hot take there. I mean, you know, very, very competitive team, the Packers. Micah Parsons, big trade in the offseason. So, I mean, you know, Josh Jacobs, he's missing a week or maybe 2. But, all right, we need to pump the brakes and check in with M-Dog for something outlandish.
All right, I am so sorry I cannot be here in person, but, you know, I had to go out and get the turkey and the bird this week. And I want to thank our producer, Dan Saccone. He was very receptive in letting me tape a little ditty for you here. So listen, you might not like what I'm going to say here, but, and I don't like what I'm going to say, you know, and let's hope, I'm usually wrong, so let's hope I'm wrong on this one. But all I have to say is, watch out for the defending champions. All right, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, people. They still are the champions until the first week in February, until they get to defend or lose their title that they still possess. So you know me, I'm a Giant fan, and I just think the Philadelphia Eagles are not done. Now listen, I've been thinking about this for over a week, and I realized they just lost on Sunday. I know. Dallas, which I'm not happy about, came back and snuck up on them, and some people think, hey, Dallas, they don't, you know, they're going to make a run for it. But I still think it's the Eagles' championship to lose. They got the pieces, people. They'll be defending their title. You know, back to back, it's been popular. Lately, the Dodgers did it. The Chiefs did it. The Eagles want to show the Chiefs that they can do it too. So let's hope I'm wrong, but I think it might be the Eagles, folks.
And finally, we turn to Warwick's version of Danny Dimes, except better in New York. 2.0.
What's up, guys? Speaking of Danny Dimes, we got Matthew Stafford, Sunday Night Football, 10 for 10 on his first 10 passes. These Rams, they are the real deal. In my opinion, the real deal. The receiver core, they have Puka Nacua. In the running back spot, they got Kyron Williams, in my opinion, a touchdown merchant. But, hey, Matt Stafford's getting it done. The defense is really, really solid, and I really do think that they are some contenders, and I really do feel like they might make it to the Super Bowl.
They are a competitive team. I mean, they just played, you know, the Seahawks last week, and, you know, it was a close game despite everything, but they forced 4 turnovers. I have the Rams defense in fantasy. They just put up 16 for me on Sunday. Nice. They are definitely one of my league winners, but unfortunately, I cannot put a smile on my face and talk about success for my New York Giants. We're 2-10. It's really rough. I know a lot of fans want to gloat about their team like I do. That'll put a wrap on our special edition of Keeping Score, Contender or Pretender. I have been your host, Wannabe. We'll be back for our annual postseason prediction shows in early January. On behalf of the entire Warwick Valley Television production crew, we wish you and your family a great holiday season.